Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social slime, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air. Fuck them back, it's only for they bomb. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one makes countries. Lie to your face, fight and die, 'cause God forgives. Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social slide, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. See their shit, force of air. Fuck them back, that's only fair. They bomb, they shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one leaves countries. Lie to your face, fight and die, 'cause God forgives. Yeah. Coming back around again.
What's that?
Yeah.
Oh. Welcome to the show, Ron Stevens. This is a bloody well white town I'm living in, and that's not being white supremacist. It's just we're buried in a snowbank. It's got to quit snowing sometime, you know. But anyways, before I get going here, I'm going to do this at the beginning. I'm going to do it at the end. Saturday night on the show over at Revolution Radio and Fedor's UCY.tv. I'm going to have a couple of pretty interesting guests, and this is what I'm talking about, guys. This is 2018. This is kick-ass year. We got to gather up the people that know, and we got to get them to work. Anyways, Carl Fleury, who's from Lloydminster, Alberta, outside of Edmonton, and Karen Draper from Calgary, who ran as a school board trustee in the Calgary election, are going to be my guests Saturday night. And hopefully we get hooked up with Kevin Johnson. I'm pretty sure they'll get that sorted out. Now, Kevin Johnson does, I don't know, I can't remember what the name of the show is, but he's running for mayor of Mississauga in 2018, but right now he's got a bit of a problem. He's been charged with hate crimes, so he has to go to court on the 19th of January, I believe it is. So they're going to try and raise some money for his court costs and that. Now, I don't know, this hate crime thing is rather ludicrous because, from what I understand, Kevin just asked some people that had access to schools in the Toronto area, maybe just Mississauga, if because they're having Muslim prayer sessions in the schools, and there's evidence that they're using these prayer sessions to radicalize the students. And so he thought he'd do a little investigative reporting, so he asked people, you know, if they could just use their cell phones or that and, you know, record some of this stuff to see what's actually being said in these prayer sessions. And so the powers that be caught wind of it, and so somehow they managed to turn that into a hate crime. of some sort. So he's being dragged into the courts. So it's going to be a good show Saturday night. So if you're about, tune in. I think this one will record and probably put it up on YouTube. But, you know, we gotta you know, stand up here a little bit. Now I put a piece, and I'm still not. I'm kind of surprised by this. I didn't get busted yet on Facebook, but I put a piece up last night, which really ticks me off because I worked on it for about an hour, and then I was doing a spell check, and that locked up, and I'd forgot to save the damn thing, so I had to start all over again. But basically, what this thing says is, and Chris knows about this. The heading on this particular mem that I put up, it says the heading is castration the answer to motion 103? Okay, and that motion is a private member's motion from Islamic MP who lied and didn't get taken to task over that. But the member's private motion M13, which I put up here in the middle, the government should recognize the need to address the current climate of hate and fear. Parliament should condemn all forms of racism and religious discrimination, especially Islamophobia. The Committee on Canadian Heritage should develop a community-focused whatever. So I found an article written January 27th, 2017, updated April 14th, 2017, by John Ibbotson of the Globe and Mail. And part of what he wrote was, people just react to whatever's going on today. They never go backwards. You can't know jack if you don't back up. And so this explains a little bit. Doesn't go back very far, but it does explain a little bit. Because what we got here, and you have it everywhere, you know, you got the right fighting the left and left fighting the right, and people don't realize these are boots on the same tyrannical body, marching us to a destination we do not want to arrive at. Anyways, opponents, this is what the story says, opponent of Canada's wide open immigration policy have good reason to complain. This country embarked on a massive social experiment in the early 1990s. The Mulroney government opened the immigration floodgates. That experiment is radically altering the ethnic makeup of the population. Yet that decision, and this is the important part, that decision was never properly debated. Has the time come for such a debate, or is it too late? A report this week from Statistics Canada forecasting the country's demographic makeup in 2036 suggests, that's hypnotism, folks. Anytime you see the word suggest or suggestion, understand what that is. That's putting a thought process into your head, like you're a chicken, running around in the stadium as a chicken, and that's what this suggestion crap is about. So, a report this week from Stats Canada forecasts the country's demographic makeup in 2036 suggests it's too late. What they're saying is by 2036, we will have an equal number of white and brown people in the country, and of course they're breeding stock. So. If we're equal in 2036, we'll be in a minority in 2037. So the statistics suggest it's too late. The transformation of Canada is already far advanced and continuing. Some old stock Canadians, as Stephen Harper called them, this is the same guy that stood at the G20 meeting in 2010 and said the meeting, there's a loss of national sovereignty. Some people don't like it, but it's a simple reality. Never broadcast in any media anywhere in this country. even though he said it at a media scrum. So we know the media is all in on this takedown of our nation. No one asked them, they will say, right? Harper's called them old stock Canadians, and they will resent this. No one asked them, they will say, whether they wanted the European Christian country they grew up in to be transformed into something so cosmopolitan. They lament the loss of traditional values and social solidarity. Now, the other side here, I wrote, jihad rapes are occurring throughout Europe. And this got something to do with the castration. We must make sure this does not occur here. Jihad rape of our women and underage girls must not be tolerated. In Muslim countries, the sentence for rape is death, but not for jihad rape, which is the rape of non-Muslims. Seeing as there is no death penalty here, castration of young single Muslim men entering the country seems a reasonable deterrent. If not, bring back the death penalty or close the borders. And then I put in a thing about a one-child policy to assure we do not become a minority in the country we built. Those of non-European blood should be restricted to one child per family. At the same time, we must do everything we can to increase our birth rate. Islam means to submit. We will never submit to Islam, no matter how badly our UN globalist puppet politicians want us to. We have a duty to our forefathers, children, grandchildren, those not yet born, to make sure we never submit. I am not racist, nor can this be construed as hate speech. However, forcing Islam upon this nation is in no way acceptable. Not now, not ever. Now, you know, I really don't like Facebook, but I'm not in jail right now, which is amazing. But then I put some pictures up here of, Tinkerbell Trudeau with his arm around that little broad that brought this motion forward. And then another picture of Tinkerbell with his arm around another Muslim who is the immigration minister. And then Tinkerbell with his arm around another Muslim who just happens to be the third-term mayor for Calgary. And a picture of Trudeau with the UN logo, and then 3 pictures of Trudeau hanging out with the Muslims doing Muslim prayers. Now, you know, I expected to get hammered on this a little bit, but, you know, I lost the first one I did, so I had to redo it all over again. It was getting late. And I actually I read it all through, and I actually did a spell check on it. And spell check went fine. It was late, so I saved it and I posted it. And some dick from the United States started yammering on about this stuff. The only thing that was of any importance to him was that there's a spelling error in this thing, and destruction is spelled D-I-S instead of D-E, and this was the contentious issue for this clown. And this is what I find on Facebook so many times, is that, you know, I have the conservatives are not too happy with this because, you know, everybody's bitching about Trudeau, but it was Mulroney and then Harper. But before that, it was Martin. And before that, it was Chrétien. Before that, it was Trudeau. So, you know, this is, you may as well call this a gang rape, a political gang rape of Canada. So it's a jihadish gang rape by the politicians who are doing the bidding of the globalists. Anyways, yeah, I really didn't get as much heat off of this as. And then, you know, I got some ladies. It's the ladies again. You know, I got some ladies leaving comments. Some of the places I posted this thing, you know, and they thought the idea of cutting their nuts off before they were allowed to even get on a plane to come this way was a good idea. So the people are starting to get their act together a little bit, and that's a good thing. So more and more people are waking up, more and more people are getting engaged, and so I'm really looking forward. I mean, Karen is just a little firecracker. I think she's around 30 or something, and she's got a young child that's getting to school age, and so that's why she ran for the education board, and she did a fine job, and now she has people. It's all about inspiration. It's about inspiring people. Okay, nobody wants to run. Nobody wants, somebody else will do it, right? Well, nobody else is going to do it. So, Karen didn't get the help she needed in the election. People want to go to these silly rallies and that, but they don't want to get their hands dirty, so to speak. They don't want to make a commitment, which Karen did. And now when I was talking to her last night when she called, people are inspired by what she did. And that's the whole point, is to inspire people. So they're working on some things out in Alberta that we'll discuss Saturday night. And like I said, hopefully we can get Kevin Johnson in here, because he's a bit of a, it kind of reminds me of a little pit bull or something. So he's quite the animated guy. So hopefully we get him in as well, and have a real good show and get a good YouTube made out of it or something, so we can move that around. Anyways, that's my. I thought it was everybody's bitching about Motion M103. In other words, I can't say anything. I can't look at a Muslim crooked. That would be a hate crime. I can't voice my opinion. That would be a hate crime. And I am I've always been the same way, and I think I'll always be the same way. Nobody's going to duct tape my face. I'm the kind of guy, and I wish everybody would do the same thing. You say what you mean what you say. And if it upsets or offends someone, well, they got legs, they can walk away. Do not fear hate speech. Say what's on your mind. But, you got to play a little bit with them. I put a thing in here, I'm not racist, and it can't be construed as hate speech. And I didn't say, the immigrants need to be castrated. I said, is castrated the answer to M103? And as long as you're running with a question, nobody can give you too big of a hard time about it. So keep those things in mind. Now, I got a story which really is kind of a silly story, but it's in the paper. Now, when I went to get a coffee yesterday? I think it was yesterday. Anyways, there was another gentleman at the till, and we were talking about the weather a little bit. And, he says, yeah, I know. He says, when it's cold, it's climate change, and when it's warm, it's climate change. And the lady behind the counter says, yeah, that's right. Well, this guy about my age, in his mid-60s somewhere, he just spun his head around and stared at her. What? So when the water level of Lake Huron goes down, that's global warming. And when the lake level goes way up, that's global warming too. Right? Yep. And he was just freaked out. And this is how easily people are deceived. It's like it's like their thought processes are shot. Scientists suggests. There's that word again, right? When you hear the word suggest or suggestion, you better perk your ears up, because they suggest and you say, oh, well, it must be right then. They didn't say it was right. They just suggested it, which puts the thought in your head, which makes you believe you're a chicken, and you'll dance around in the audience there till they tell you you're not a chicken. They suggest you're not a chicken anymore. So yeah, look up the word suggestion in etymology, and everybody ought to have a copy of that bookmarked or up on their browser at all times, because once you start using etymology, you realize that the definition of the most of the words you use and the definitions you think are the definition of the words are in fact not the definition of the words. So, it's like they use jargon all the time, and jargon is a language that is used to take advantage and deceive, and it's a language of the thieves. And they're using all of these suggestions from all of these different things, sustainable development and climate change, and we suggest you get your flu shot, and so on and so forth. And I don't know why people are so easily conned. Maybe people are easily hypnotized. I don't know. I have no idea. But anyways, the story here is, why has it been so cold? Well, here's what science says. And I have to spit now, because I have to do that every time I see the word science. Because the science is when I already knew science was full of crap, but when I read that in that book from way back when, that they killed God in the mid-1800s is exactly when ecology came forward, is exactly when evolution came forward. And they couldn't bring this stuff forward as long as God existed, because God was the creator. So instead of worshiping the creator, you guys are supposed to worship the creation. Well, who's trying to destroy the creation? Well, the guy God supposedly kicked out of the big place for being an ass. And his job is to deceive. And he's been doing a pretty good job of it. So the scientists replaced the priests, and like the priests of old, you are not supposed to question them. Just like you're not supposed to question the scientists of today. The scientists are the new priests. And so, you want to take everything a scientist says with a grain of salt, because if you investigate it, you'll find out that 99.9% of what's being said is bull crap. Okay, so it says here that Whitehorse was warmer than Toronto on Tuesday. The weather in North America is upside down. No, the whole friggin' world's upside down because we've been deceived. And that's why we need to rock the boat. We need to right the boat and get it right side up, because presently it's upside down and we're living in this dumbass fictional world, and that's where they have us right now. That's because the Arctic deeply frigid weather escaped its regular atmospheric jail. This is scientists talking, eh? Which traps most of the worst cold. It then meandered south to the central and eastern part of the continent. So the cold broke out of jail, apparently. So we had a jailbreak. The cold broke out of jail. And this has been happening more often in recent times, scientists say. CBC meteorologist Joanna Wagstaff answered questions about the cold snap in an interactive live stream, which you can watch. This girl looks like she has an extraordinarily low IQ, but I haven't listened to it. It's a 31-minute video of Joanna Wagstaff answering questions. I'm going to have to listen to this because it'll be quite humorous, I would think. Super cold air, it goes on, is normally locked up in the Arctic in the polar vortex, which is a gigantic circular weather pattern around the North Pole. A strong polar vortex keeps that cold air hemmed in. Well, wait a minute. I thought the ice was melting in the Arctic. Well, then it weakens. When it weakens, it causes the dam to burst. So the cold air is in jail behind a dam, and they broke out of jail, and then the dam burst, and the cold air heads south, said Judah Cohen. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Judah Cohen sounds like a Jewish name to me. And we know how much the Jews spend their time deceiving people. I could be wrong, but Judah Cohen certainly doesn't sound like a European name. It does sound very much like a Jewish name. I'm going to find out right now before I go any further. See if I can find out. And that's what I'm saying, you just, it takes only 2 seconds to find something out when you read a story. Yep. Jewish Studies, Associate Professor of Jewish Studies, Professor of Jewish Culture Office. Yep, so he's a Jew. Okay, that was easy. See how easy this is? This is way easy. So we're supposed to believe a Jew who says that it causes the dam to burst when the cold air heads south, said Judah. A winter storm expert for atmospheric environmental research, a commercial firm outside Boston. This is not record-breaking for northern Canada or Alaska or northern Siberia. It's just misplaced, said the Jewish gentleman, Mr. Cohen, who had forecast a colder than normal winter for much of the U.S. Is this unusual? Yes, but more for how long? About 10 days. The cold has lasted, then how cold it has been, huh? Anyways, they said on New Year's Eve record lows were measured in communities across Canada, including Lethbridge, Alberta, and Toronto, Ottawa, Kitchener-Waterloo, Trenton, Ontario, and don't forget Kingston, where Duck's from, because they broke, I think, a temperature record down there. Let's see. In what was Saginawish, a Cree community on the southeast shore of James Bay, it got as cold as minus 42.5 degrees. And in the far north, residents of La Grande River saw the thermometer hit 48.2 degrees. Meanwhile, more than 1,600 U.S. daily records for cold were tied or broken in the last week of December, according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. That's a bureaucracy. In Canada, a number of records are falling across the country, mainly for daily cold temperatures, but forecasters all point to new records for how long these cold stretches have lasted. Montreal just broke an all-time record for the longest stretch of cold temperature below minus 16. I think you had 6 days and counting of temperatures that didn't rise above 16. Well, they don't mention that in this particular piece, but the piece from Montreal said that cold stretch of minus 16 for the 6 days, that broke a record that is 146 years old. But hey, it's global warming. Pretty much, is it just North America? Pretty much, yeah, pretty much, because we're not giving you any news from anywhere else. While the United States and Canada has been the deep freeze, the rest of the globe has been, toastier than normal. So it's definitely climate change, which it changes every day, but it's definitely not man-made global warming. The globe as a whole was, are you serious for this? The globe as a whole, the whole globe was, I wish I had a drum roll I could put in here, was 0.5 degrees or 0.5 degrees Celsius, or for our American friends, 0.9 degrees Fahrenheit, warmer than normal Tuesday. And the Arctic was more than 3.4 Celsius or 6 degrees Fahrenheit warmer than normal, according to the University of Maine Climate Change Institute analysis. So, according to them, if the Arctic rises by 2 degrees Celsius, all of the ice will melt. The entire world will be flooded. This is Al Gore crap again. But they're telling us that the temperature in the Arctic was 6 degrees warmer Fahrenheit, not Celsius, because they're talking about a 2 degrees Celsius rise will melt all the ice, and the New York will be flooded, and all the coastal cities will be flooded from the melting ice. I mean, these people are so full of crap. All climate scientists should be taken to the edge of town, tarred and feathered, kicked in the ass, and told to shut up and don't come back. And that would be a reasonable response for what they're up to. What's next? For now, in parts of Canada, it has warmed up a little bit, and extreme cold warnings have been lifted in places like Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto, and London, Ontario. Well, no, they've been put back on, and it's going to get a hell of a lot colder in the next couple of days than it was before. However, this woman that did the video and answering your questions, Wagstaff, says a weather bomb or bombogenesis is shaping up. Is shaping up in the Maritimes with cold air merging with a storm system that is moving from the U.S. East Coast. So down here at the bottom, because Chris is in here, he's supposed to be watching a hockey game. So this goes down quite a way. I'm just going to throw it in the chat. But the end of this just kills me. How can it be so cold with global warming? Well, don't confuse weather, which is a few days or weeks in one region, with climate, which is over years and decades, and it's global, right? Create a global problem that can only be solved at the global level, right? That's the whole scam. They're all scams. This is a scam. So they go on. Weather is like a person's mood, which changes frequently, while climate is like someone's personality, which is more long-term, Futato said. A few cold days doesn't disprove climate change, Futato said. That's just silly. Just like a couple down days on the stock market doesn't mean the economy is going to go into the trash. So there you go. Climate change is real, and it doesn't matter if you freeze your toes off. It's actually warmer than you think. What's up, Mr. Christopher?
The climate models you're talking about, we have on average right now broken every record on average, like throughout. Like tomorrow is going to be, I think tomorrow morning. I put it in the chat there for my local town.
Oh, Chris, you're just talking about a few days here and there. Didn't you hear me say it's toasty somewhere else on the planet?
So like we just broke records, and then tomorrow it's going to be minus 21, and then I think Saturday is going to be minus 20 or 22. Sunday's going to warm up a little bit. You know, we're going to get back into normal temperatures after that, they say. But I was looking at the records back in 1981 when I was framing houses as a kid, and we had the exact same temperatures.
Yeah.
1981 as we got right now.
Well, that's when they really started.
No, I'm sorry. These temperatures are colder than it was in 1981 because we're breaking records right now.
Well, here for my place here, the record low for today was 19.4 degrees. That was in 1884. And the record high, which was exactly 10 years sooner, right? In 1874, the record high was 14.4. So according to these statistics, it was obviously global warming in 1874 because, I mean, it was 14.4 degrees above zero. 10 years later, it's basically minus 20. But that's global warming. That's how it works. It's sneaky. It's really sneaky. Well, like here, right now, here it says it's minus 13, feels like minus 23. So you look at the next few days, and it's supposed to, let me see, did they change this already again? But we're supposed to get a few really snappy days coming. And you guys, I thought I had you beat, and then I went and looked at Kingston, and when I looked at it earlier today, your wind chill was minus 32 or 34. That sounds like
37 one day.
Huh?
We had minus 37 the one day. I think it was, I don't know if that was New Year's Day or New Year's Eve. Minus 7 with the wind chill. I mean, that's not really bad because I thought I worked in minus 40 before, but...
Well, tomorrow...
And this the damper weather here, too, It makes it even colder.
Oh, yeah,
like
it does.
Not in comparison to you. I'm saying, like, for out west. I mean, for them, they'll say, oh, that's, nothing. But I could handle that dry weather and that cold better than I could handle it here in the damp.
When I was out west, working out west, they were talking about minus 40 something. We were in minus 50, but it was so cold out west in the winter that you could actually just snap your mustache hairs off, right? They would just snap. But I see here they got you pegged for tomorrow for basically minus 20, with a minus 31, or it feels like minus 31. So that's definitely global warming, right?
Well, that's the point, though. I mean, you go 1981. We had similar temperatures. Like, I don't really. I'm not going to suggest to anybody. I'm going to debate whether. Well, I don't have to debate. I know
you don't have to debate it because
it's proven that we are actually now have the coldest temperatures we've ever had in the last century.
Like the Montreal temperature.
I mean, in 1981, when I was framing houses, we worked in it. Like, I was a young lad then, I could handle it, and we worked in it. And we're just framing. I mean, you weren't doing, like, you weren't handling aluminum or trying to cut siding with it. You were just, framing houses. But it was so comparable to right now. And what are we, 81 till now? We're back exactly where we were back in 81. So where's that warming? And we've had mild winters. You've had them. Everybody has them.
Well, yeah, I know, but it's I mean, my dad, who's not with us anymore, but, the same thing. I mean, when he was a kid, which was back in the 20s, they did the same thing, right? One winter you'd freeze because they worked in the bush a lot in the winter, and one winter you're freezing your tail off, and the next winter it's almost too mild to even be in the bush, right? They used to have this saying, they didn't like the mild winters because that's when people got sick, right? They catch colds and pneumonia and flus and stuff. They liked it snappy cold in the wintertime. But, they just had a closed winter and an open winter, right? It's cyclical. You may have a few closed winters and then have a couple open winters or whatever, but it just keeps rolling around. So these scientists I mean, even Suzuki said it. I think it was at, I'm not sure it was the University of Seattle, it was somewhere in Washington State. I ran into a document. He gave a talk there to a bunch of science students way back when. And he told them straight out, you know, what you believe today in science, you'll find 20 years from now, none of it made any sense. It was incorrect. And it's the same thing with this nonsense, right? I mean, I'm still trying to figure out how many dinosaurs there were on the planet, because when I was a kid, the scientists told us that oil came from the decaying carcasses of dinosaurs. Now, I think we've proven that's not correct. So the idea that you need to believe science is a wrong attitude. Okay, anytime a scientist open their face, I mean, the scientists tell us that the GMO foods are safe. The scientists tell us the sprays are safe. The scientists tell us the vaccines are safe, right? I mean, how much bullshit has to come out of scientists' mouths before you call them on it? You know, you hear the word scientist or you see the word suggestion, spit on both of them, because they're deceiving you. They're manipulating you, and they're taking you somewhere you don't want to go. So, you know. But hey,
man with the hockey stick, like literally that's his name, Man, right? Man is the one of the Al Gore Man, Mann, who self-describes himself as a prestigious scientist.
Mm-hmm.
I watched him on some congressional hearings.
I know.
With other scientists. Man, what an asshole.
Well, he's a con man.
Totally sold his soul.
They put con men like Al Gore, who was in business with Strong. They put these con men in positions because they're con men, right? They have no soul. They got no moral fiber. They'll push whatever agenda needs to get pushed, and they don't give a shit, right? They really don't care. You know, but, you know, you still got, I wish everybody would go back to 1958. Just go to YouTube, I guess, or you can Google it and you'll end up at the videos. But 1958, go watch that frickin' clip. And it was a Hollywood production, and it's called Goddess Unchained. And there's a piece in there on global warming. And it looks like Gore watched that before he did his Inconvenient Truth, because they're basically identical. And that was in 1958, which is only 8 years after Warburg said they needed mechanisms, right? Global mechanisms, in other words, global problems that only can be solved at the global level. And that's your climate change, your man-made global warming. It's just a long-term crock of shit, just like the oil from the dinosaurs was, just like evolution is. They're just there to manipulate you so they can bleed you and take you where you don't want to end up at. But, yeah, I had to question myself about that heading I put on that thing last night. You know, when I it's a big heading, right? It goes all the way across an 8.5 by 11 page, and you know, is castration the answer to M103? And I'm looking at it and I'm going, man, how is this going to play? But I only lost one follower on my Facebook so far. The rest of the people are quite pleased with what's said, and that's the whole point. We just got to keep inspiring people so that they're not fearful anymore. You know, so I'm really looking forward to this thing. I got a call from Carl just about 4 minutes before the show tonight, and I've never spoken to him before. Actually, we just, you know, I texted him something on Facebook a couple of nights ago, And he got right back at me because he's been working with Karen. And he says, can we get some airtime? And I said, for sure. So hopefully we get Kevin Johnson on, and because I'd like him to explain exactly how it is he got nailed for hate crimes. But from what I understand, it was they were trying to pick up what they were trying to do was catch these Muslim prayer sections passing out hate crimes against the white people, right? So that's what he was doing. He was trying to catch them in hate crimes, and turned around and they charged him with hate crimes. But he wasn't hating anybody. He was just trying to get some information and some evidence. But we know how it works. All you got to do is look at Europe. They just turn a blind eye to anything a Muslim does. The guy that where was that? The last guy that ran over a bunch of people. Was that Chicago or what the hell was that? But anyways, the guy comes rolling down the road and runs over a bunch of people on the sidewalks and that, and he's Middle Eastern, and they said, well, we think he's suffering from a mental disorder, not a terrorist crime, not attempted murder. He just maybe has some mental situations we have to deal with. The guy in Edmonton who stabbed a cop and ran over a bunch of people. He's not been charged for terrorist crimes or anything. I don't even know what he's been. I don't even know what he's been charged. He hasn't been charged with attempted murder or anything either. I mean, the guy stabs a cop and runs over a lot of people, and hush hush, no problem. If I look crooked or if I jaywalk across the street, I'll get a ticket. But if I'm a Muslim, apparently I have more rights than me because, I'm white, and this is supposedly a Christian nation, and Islam supersedes everything else. So, the reason I'd like Kevin to come on the show is I want to explain to him the Cairo Declaration. I'm not sure if he's up on that yet. But that is the statement that the international or the universal human rights are in fact the Islamic rights, because it contains both law and religion, and it seems to be the best fit, they say, for the international or the universal human rights. So that's why they're invading the West, so that they can say they're the biggest religion, and they're in more places, and yada, yada, yada. And so your universal human rights are going to be based on the Quran and Sharia law. And if that don't piss you off, I don't know what will.
Well, Kevin J. Johnson is just... People all they had to do is YouTube him. He's been in an ongoing battle. He shows up at city hall meetings. He shows up at the school board, and
that's what everybody needs to be doing.
He doesn't actually speak the way I would hope he would, but he's defending his people, which are our people, against this Muslim invasion, and he's good at it. And he got called out. I mean, the mayor of the town he's in, she's white. She is white, and she's totally sold her soul, and it shows if you watch some of the videos.
Oh, I know she's just an airhead, but Bonnie Crombie, isn't it?
Yes, thank you.
But I was a big fan of Hazel McCallum for a long time, right? I think she was one of the first women mayors, and she was the mayor in the 70s, and she was the mayor all the way up till I think Bonnie Crombie took over. She was the mayor for ever of Mississauga. And, I used to be reasonably impressed by her until I was doing some research and I ran into the world mayors. And lo and behold, who's got the the runner-up award or whatever in 2010, 2011, 2012, whenever. But Hazel McCallion, the mayor of Mississauga. And then I saw a video of Hazel saying, listen, when you're talking about this stuff, don't use the word high density, right? Because that'll trigger them, right? Like the people that know what's going on. So use the word like infill or something, right? So, all of these mayors have all sold their souls. There isn't one that hasn't sold their soul. But the media is very good at keeping a lid on this stuff. So, Hazel, just another puppet. And at least Hazel was good at it. Bonnie's just an amateur. But, like when you say, Kevin J. Johnson, you're old enough to remember, what the hell was that show? The comedian, what was his name? Comedian, was it Brennan? He used to do this. Or he had just a guy to come on and do a spit, about Johnson, you do this, you do that, but he doesn't have to call me Johnson. And now my phone's ringing. I don't know who the hell that is. But, no, Kevin, if Kevin chilled it down a little bit, like he just reminds me, because he's not that tall, I don't think. And he's not, he's kind of a, he's got a brush cut in that. He kind of reminds me of a little bulldog or something. I saw a couple of videos in when he's at a school board or at the council and that, and he gets a little riled up, which is fine. But he could go about it a little bit different. But then that's his personality, right? So he's going to use it. So power to him.
I've seen. He's been before the Human Rights Tribunal, or UNIB, depending on who's there at the time. He's very calm, level-headed man. I mean, he speaks sense.
Did you tell me he got called up in front of the Human Rights?
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And he went in. He kicked ass. He's
got to come on the show because I want to know how he did that. Yeah. I've tried many times to get called up to the Human Rights just so I can have fun.
I mean, it's on, like I said, all you got to do is just YouTube Kevin J. Johnson, and you just got to, you got to go through.
Yeah, he's got a ton of. Well, he's got his show going now, right? So he's got lots of.
Well, this is back when it started, and he filmed it when he was in there, and no, the guy kicks ass, man. I mean, I really respect him.
Yeah, but like when I was talking to Karen last night, I said, that's all well and good. He's running for mayor, but. And this is what people need to understand. The people down Mississauga, go get him, Kevin, right? Go get him. But I don't know why people don't understand this. It doesn't matter if Kevin won the election with 98% of the vote. He still only got one vote. So he got no say. Even though he's the mayor, he got no say. Because the city manager, the /CAO, is the one that sets the agendas, and the rest of the council is on board with those agendas. So that's the whole point of getting that's why I'd like to get him on. I want him to encourage other people to run for council in Mississauga. This idea, you're going to put one guy up. One guy is one vote, or one gal is one vote. And you are going to do nothing and change nothing with one vote. You'll get frustrated. But you're not going to accomplish anything. You can't stop anything, right? And if you get too uppity, even if you're the mayor, they can haul your ass on out of there. So that's why it's so important that people, get involved. $100, $100 stinking dollars to run for council. That's it, $100. You can print all the signs you want for. Not much, so we're going to set up a deal here. I'm going to try to raise some money for my election. I'm going to run for the Libertarian Party in the provincial election. And if we don't get that, then I'll be running for mayor in the fall. Same as Kevin, only I'm running a small town. You just got you and see what people don't understand. If you don't run, you don't have a voice. Now, I think we finally got past these stupid rallies. When I was talking to Karen last night, this is not how we go about this. Screw the rallies. The rallies attract mainstream media to call you out. It attracts these Marxist leftists to your rallies to try to shout you down, and absolutely nothing gets accomplished. So that's a negative. So we were discussing some positives last night. So I'm really looking forward to working with these people. I'm really looking forward to it. I've been waiting a long time for to start to see a solid core of people get built, and then we put the agenda together, and then we go get other people to get on board. But we have to participate. Nothing changes without our participation. If the globalists just had an idea and didn't do anything with it, well, then they're not going to get anywhere near the goal that they're after, which is the destruction of nations. So we're not going to stop them if we're not engaged. And you got to remember what that stupid old Rockefeller said. Our window of opportunity won't stay open too long. Okay? Now, like I told Karen last night, they're much more afraid of us than we are of them, because they know we got the ability to shut this shit down. Okay? So we got the win in hand. We just got to put a winning team together and go get them. So it's going to be a wonderful 2018. And I'm certain that 2018 is when we start to turn this around. Not going to turn around in 2018, but we start to, turn the bow of the boat a little bit and get it going in the right direction. And we have all that power. Like that stupid idiot that put that note on that castration thing. He says, we're not worried about you sheeple, right? I said, you will be, right? And they will be. So who's playing hockey tonight?
Well, I just watched America lose against the Swedes, and they're my rival enemy when it comes to hockey. Only hockey.
Is this the junior league?
Yeah, the juniors, World Juniors.
Yeah, okay.
And then Canada plays at, in about 2 minutes the game starts. We're playing Czech Republic. Unfortunately, most Americans probably won't be watching that, and they probably won't be watching the finals tomorrow. I was kind of giggling at the fact that the States lost tonight.
So what do you think? What do you think real quick? Canada against Czechoslovakia.
Czech Republic.
Czech Republic. Who wins?
Canada, of course.
Of course.
Canucks.
See how easy that was? See how that... Anyway.
And then we play the Swedes tomorrow, and we win. We get the gold medal, and
that's that.
Nobody will know it but us Canuckistans.
See, so we can win the hockey. If we can win the World Juniors, we can win our country back. Okay, because that hockey team is determined to win. Now we just need the people determined to win. We're going to get our country back. I think we're out of time here, but
that's a good one.
Yeah, Saturday night. Tune in if you're around. But we'll make a video out of it or something too. So we're going to hopefully have Kevin A. Johnson and Carl Fleury and Rachel. Okay, that's it. We're out of time. Thank you, Chris. Go watch.
Killing people next in line. Lower classes, social slime. They don't matter. Genocide. Sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. Censorship, force of air. Fuck them back. It's only for they bomb. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape, they burn the kids. No one makes gun, trees, lie to your face.